We had great games, massive upsets, and plenty of goals everywhere, and much, much more on this episode 86 of the No Business Soccer Podcast. So let's dig in. Welcome back to the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Snooze, and it's a weird episode today. We have Brainiac J-Fam on the ones and twos. Danny P's on a boat in the middle of a lake somewhere, and our boy Hype Man Vic is over there in Japan having some good food and probably some other cool stuff going on too. So we miss you, and hopefully he sends us a video. We can put it in here at some point. But for now, you'll just be talking to me. And while we're going to have the European wrap-up, we also have boots on the ground here in Austin, Texas, too. But before all of that, like and subscribe for us, please, because it does help us out a lot, especially when we're pumping out this great content that you always want to hear. So with that said, I think it's about time. Boots on the ground in Austin, Texas for the Austin FC Minutes. And it was a rainy day in Austin, Texas, Saturday night, and it was it was soggy. Let's just put it that way. But the game was anything but. It was a 3-1 win. Yes, I was remembering the goal on their side for Austin. We had a Bukhari awesome goal set up by Wolfie. Uzuni gets a goal, and then it was an own goal, and then of course they had a goal on their side too. But a 3-1 goal, great time. The weather was looking good, too. It's starting to feel a little bit more like fall. There's humidity in the air, of course, but all around good times on Saturday night for Austin FC. What a game. Can't wait to see them come up against their next opponent. And I'll let Victor do all the talking for that, or Hype Man Vic. He'll do all of that when he's back. But that is your Austin FC Minute. Now, time to get in the meat and potatoes, everything. We got a lot of great stuff going on, and I think it's time that we move on to Italy, and that is to Serie A. And before we jump into all the matches, of course, we're going to bring you the top 5 headlines. So let's jump into it. These are your top 5 headlines for Serie A Matchday 2. Number 1, the champions find a way. Napoli take all 3 points from a hard-fought match against Cagliari. The winning goal comes in the 4th minute of extra time with maybe 20 seconds left on the clock. Amazing, amazing stuff. Number 2, crazy for Cremonese. Cremonese take care of business again, and it's 2 wins to start the Serie A season. They already look the part of a team that belongs in Serie A and will be there next season as well. Number 3, Udinese enter San Siro and leave with all 3 points. This was by far the biggest upset in Serie A this weekend, with Udinese getting it done on the road. In the famous words of the widest QB on earth, Kirk Cousins, walk into your trap, take over your trap. That's what Udinese did. Milan bounced back. After a doom and gloom match day 1, Allegri's Milan get a clean sheet and all 3 points, not to mention Captain America Christian Pulisic himself gets on the score sheet as well. The match of the week delivers. Number 5, Bologna and Como went at it, and Bologna comes out on top in front of their home fans. Orsolini proves again that he is one of the most underrated players in Serie A as he bags the winner. And that was your top 5 headlines from Serie A Match Day 2. Now, time to break down the rest of these games and talk about everything that went in there. Of course, we do a rapid fire top 5 just so you know what happened, but we're going to go into the guts and the details of it all right now. And it all kicked off on Friday. Sassuolo 2, Cremonese 3. Cremonese is 2-0 in Serie A with 6 points after they take down fellow promoted side Sassuolo with the stoppage time penalty. Cremonese looks like they belong in Serie A, and they're actually a lot of fun to watch. I know it's hard to look at a team that's coming up from the second division in Italy and expect a great team, or at least great on the eyes. But yeah, keep an eye on them. They're pretty good right now. Lecce 0, Milan 2. And Milan get things back on track with the win and a clean sheet against the Milkmen. And of course, like I mentioned, Pulisic scores. Milan definitely played better this weekend, but Lecce looked lost in defense. It was so sloppy. If you watch the highlights of that match, they have no idea what they're doing in the back. So I'm not sure if we learned much about this Milan team, but we will find out. On Saturday, Como 0, Bologna 1. This was awesome to watch. Bologna toughed out a 1-0 win over Como in the main event of the weekend, in my eyes anyway. Orsolini against Paz, and it delivered. Paz had his moments, but Orsolini and Castro took over this one, and it was their link up that was the difference here. I don't know what was up with Lazio last weekend, but Bologna gave Como fits on both ends of the pitch, and it was really cool to see. I'm high on both of these teams this year, and I'm already looking forward to the rematch in Como later this season. But, man, Paz and Orsolini, so much fun to watch. Parma 1, Atalanta 1. It was a tough night for Atalanta as they dropped points yet again, thanks to a late equalizer by new boy Cutrone for Parma. These ATLians, they are not the side we saw last season, and they just don't have the same attacking threat. And, of course, they don't have Lookman or Retegui on the side. So, yeah, that's going to happen. Duh. Cagliari 0, Napoli 1. This was a Conte special where his side struggled to score against a lower table opponent, only to get a late winner, and it's a 1-0 win. But this is what makes them champions. They seem to always find a way, even if it was a valiant effort from Cagliari. But Napoli, they're inevitable. They really are. Pisa 0, Roma 1. Roma get all 3 points despite some controversial refereeing decisions not going the way, and it's a hot start for Gasparini. Pisa had 2 really good chances in the first 10 minutes, but outside of that, not too much of a threat. It didn't take them long for Roma to kind of get into the game and make them pay, especially for a team like Pisa. You can't miss chances like that against one of the bigger teams and expect to come away with anything. On Sunday, Torino 0, Fiorentina 0. It's back-to-back draws for our Viola as they end in a stalemate with Torino. This is the same Torino side who let in 5 goals last week, which brings me to the question, where the hell is Moiskin from last season? I have no idea what is going on with his Fiorentina side, but he's bound to pop up soon and save us. I can feel it. Genoa 0, Juve 1. Juve get another win and another clean sheet as Vlahovic heads home a cross late in the game to break the deadlock. Vlahovic has now scored in back-to-back games, which is good news for Juve fans since he only scored 2 goals in the first 5 matches of last season, so he's already off to a great start. Udinese 2, Inter 1. It was the one that everybody's talking about. Nothing about Inter's 5-0 win last weekend said that this would happen. But, hey, that's why we love the sport, and that's why we watch it. This is also the difference between the champs Napoli and Inter. Inter were in a close one and couldn't find a way through, while Napoli obviously did. Lazio 4, Verona 0. It was early and often for Lazio as they get back on track and put 4 past Verona, and they needed this type of performance after being dominated by Como last time out. Our Lazio, man, back up on top. And I was taking a look at the table, and it's crazy to see. Obviously, we're only 2 match days in, so we can't really glean a lot from this table. But, man, just to see Cremonese up there, Udinese up there, the first, what is that? The first 5 teams, no, first 4 teams, all got 2 wins in a row. So, we're sitting pretty going into the international break. A lot of questions. Obviously, we don't expect it to stay this way. We usually generally only look at the table when we're 5 matches in because that's kind of a bigger set. But because, our boy Hype Man Vic isn't here, we had to have more to talk about. And so looking at the table, I want to take a screenshot and be like, where does Cremonese actually end up? Because they are 3rd in the table as of match day 2 going into the international break. And there was a fun weekend there. Looking at the loss from the Inter loss to Udinese, man, that's a fun team too. I feel like Udinese, they drew last time the first match day. I can't remember exactly who they drew to, but I remember being that it was like they deserved to win that, or else they would be right up there with Juve, Cremonese, Roma, Napoli with those 2 wins. So what a cool start to the season. Looking forward to the rest of it, but unfortunately, gonna have to wait a week. We have an international break ahead of us. Okay, with that said, I'm going to take a drink of water because, man, hard to do a lot of talking without your partner here. But with that said, we are going to go now to Germany. So let's do it to Bundesliga. Yes. And before we jump into all of the games, let's break down the top 5 headlines from Bundesliga match day 2, starting with number 1, St. Pauli takes the Hamburg Derby. It's the first Hamburg Derby in the Bundesliga in 15 years, and St. Pauli were dominant. The atmosphere was insane. The crowd was crazy, and St. Pauli gets an away win. What a game. Number 2, Duan is Duan the damn thing. No Marmouche, no Ekatike, no problem as Eintracht continue to find ways to get it done. This time through a Doan brace. They look so good right now, and Burkhardt hasn't even gotten going yet. Number 3, Leverkusen struggle again. Leverkusen are still searching for their first win after they slip up against Werder Bremen, and it cost Ten Hag his job, if you haven't heard the news. Leverkusen had a 3-1 lead with Werder down a man and still couldn't get it over the line. Tough times in Leverkusen. Number 4, the battle for Bavaria goes to Bayern. Bayern held on to beat Augsburg on the road as they continue their Bundesliga dominance, but credit to Augsburg as they get 2 goals back after going down 3-0 to make this one interesting at the end. Number 5, Cologne smell like the real deal. Cologne were electric on Sunday, and all 4 goals they put past Freiburg were top shelf. These are not the little goats that could. They are dangerous and look like they belong in the Bundesliga. And those were your top 5 headlines from the Bundesliga Match Day 2. Now, let's jump into all the matches and get into the guts of everything because there's a lot to talk about here. The Bundesliga was a lot of fun to watch, and it kicked off Friday, and that was the Hamburg derby. Hamburg 0, St. Pauli 2, the battle for Hamburg, some are saying. And as I mentioned in the highlights, the first one in 15 years in the Bundesliga goes to St. Pauli. And it's 2 impressive results in a row for St. Pauli after drawing with Dortmund last weekend. There's no substitute for great atmosphere, and you can really feel it coming through the screen. That would be really cool. That's a bucket list. I don't necessarily know about the stadium overall, but just that event, the St. Pauli versus Hamburg, the Hamburg derby, seems like it'd be a lot of fun. And then we had Saturday, Hoffenheim 1, Eintracht Frankfurt 3. Eintracht have shown all they need to show in the first 2 weeks, at least in my eyes. And I think they're going to be just fine without Ekatike. And they'll probably be better. They'll probably be pretty good this year. I don't want to say better, pretty good this year. Hoffenheim beat Leverkusen on the road, and Eintracht just dominated them on their home pitch. So watch out for this Eintracht team. Of course, I did write that line that Hoffenheim beat Leverkusen on the road before Ten Hag was sacked. So maybe Leverkusen aren't as good as I thought they were going to be, or most people thought they were going to be. But either way, great result for Eintracht. Leipzig 2, Heidenheim 0. And the best remedy for a 6-0 opening day ass-whooping loss is a date with Heidenheim. Leipzig needed this one, and they get it done pretty easily with some slick goals. Check out the back heel for the second goal for Leipzig. It was just nasty. Werder 3, Leverkusen 3. We had another 6-goal thriller as Leverkusen choke against Werder Bremen, which choke is about the only word you can use because, as I mentioned, Leverkusen were up 3-1 with Werder playing a man down in the 63rd minute. And for the last 10 minutes of the match, Werder had Leverkusen on the ropes and eventually got the equalizer. It was worrying times ahead. I put this in my notes prior to the sacking. I said worrying times for Ten Hag ahead. Well, the worries are over because he's already sacked. So Leverkusen ain't playing around. Stuttgart 1, Gladbach 0. Stuttgart get their first win of the season with a 1-0 over Gladbach. It was a tightly contested match with both teams having their chances, but our boy Stuttgart come out on top. Good one. Augsburg 2, Bayern 3. Bayern have to do it the hard way as they let in 2 late goals from Augsburg, but they get it done as they seem to always do. It was cool to see Augsburg turn it on late in a derby that's really just one-sided. But what was more important was, like that spear cutting the cheek of Xerxes in 300, they made Bayern look just a little bit mortal. And maybe that's worrying times for Bayern ahead. But either way, good job, Augsburg. And, Bayern continued to dominate. Sunday, Wolfsburg 1, Mainz 1. We knew that Wolfsburg wouldn't play Mainz the same way they did Double H last weekend. That's Heidenheim. But man, this was a tough watch. I like both of these teams this season, so it was cool to get a draw because I don't like one more than the other. I just like them both. But by the end of it, even though Wolfsburg led the entire game, I think they scored in the 9th minute. They were lucky that Mainz only came away with the point and not all 3 because they had them on the ropes for pretty much the entire second half and definitely towards the end of the match. It looked like Wolfsburg just had no answers and they didn't even want to try to get forward. I don't know. It was Simone's. I was excited with the first match, second match, not so much. Maybe after this break, they can collect things and then come back to themselves. The team that played Heidenheim. Okay. Dortmund 3, Union Berlin 0. Dortmund washed the taste of that draw with St. Pauli out of their mouth with a 3-0 win over Union, and they do it in fashion. Do yourself a favor and go watch their first goal. The setup was insane. The assist and the goal are just sexy. Go see it. Cologne 4, Freiburg 1. Cologne have beaten Mainz and Freiburg to start the Bundesliga campaign. Those are two of the top 6 teams from a year ago in the Bundesliga. If you watch the match or just watch the highlights, they are so full of energy, talking about Cologne here, Cologne, and they just play a super fun brand of ball right now. It's I don't know how to explain it. Just go watch the highlights and you'll see what I'm talking about. The way they play is just so fast and so electric. I don't know how long this winning streak continues, but to win both of the games coming into the Bundesliga against teams that were highly touted coming in, man, I'm just really excited to see where this Cologne team goes. And that's kind of the team that I want to talk about a little bit more, because if we look at the landscape of that mid-table to lower part of I mean, of course, this is our table now. So, I mean, we can take a look at it. It won't be as accurate, but if you get what I'm talking about, like Freiburg, Heidenheim, Werder, Hamburg, Gladbach, Mainz, they just beat. So all these teams, I feel like that at least at this exact moment, Cologne are just better than. They just seem like they're a better team than these. And yeah, I mean, whenever I'm looking at them, I don't think that there's a team that I see that they aren't better than until maybe, I don't know, the 10th, like Union Berlin, Hoffenheim, Stuttgart at 10-9-8. So yeah, it's kind of hard to say because we're only 2 match days in, but I'm just what I've seen is very exciting. It's very telling for how this is going to go. And I don't think that the lower league or the lower table teams in the Bundesliga are that much better than them. So maybe they could creep up to mid-table. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too high on them because it's the first 2 match days. We'll see. That tends to happen in a season that takes 6-7 months. So maybe I need to calm down. But I just watched that game. If you watch the highlights, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was so cool to see. Okay, now I think we've set it off for the Bundesliga. It is time to go to Spain. Let's do it, to La Liga. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, man, this feels like it's going fast. Yeah, we are going fast. This is crazy. Woo-wee. Okay. Well, La Liga, match day 3. Before we jump into the matches like we always do, we're going to break down the top storylines. And so let's do it. This is the top 5 headlines in La Liga match day 3. Number 1, Atleti are still on the struggle bus. Atleti start the season off with a loss and 2 draws against 2 teams fighting relegation a year ago and a newly promoted side. I don't know what's going on with El Cholo's team, but they need to figure it out and quick. Number 2, Athletic Club looked like a dark horse. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done on the road in a hostile environment and take 3 points back to Bilbao. Athletic Club looked like a top 3 club in La Liga at the moment. Number 3, Girona continued to free fall. Girona looked like the absolute worst team in La Liga, and at least right now, they look like they're on their way down. This team was in the Champions League just last year. Seems like it's a one-hit wonder for Girona. Number 4, Real Sociedad still search for their first win. La Real have only won once in their last 8 La Liga matches, including the last 5 from last season. Kubo and Oyarzabal have gone missing on the pitch. What is going on with Real Sociedad? Number 5, the mighty Rayo Vallecano hold Barca to a draw. This was no fluke result either. Rayo went toe-to-toe with Barca and almost won. Rayo had double the amount of shots on target than Barca. Yeah, double the amount. What a game for Rayo as they look like the real deal this season. That was your top 5 headlines from La Liga Match Day 3. I'm excited to see the rest of these teams, and let's break down everything that went on. Oh, man, let's do it. The one I'm most excited about is Rayo, and I'll tell you about it in a second. But we got to start in chronological order, of course. That's how we always do it here on the No Business Soccer Podcast. And that starts off on Friday. Elche 2, Levante 0. Elche get their first win of the campaign in front of a raucous home crowd. They were on the front foot from the first kick and looked good the entire night. 2 draws and a win. That ain't bad for a start for Elche. Valencia 3, Getafe 0. And this one, honestly, I didn't see coming. Valencia also get their first win and put 3 past the 4th-ranked defensive team in La Liga from last season in Getafe. Getafe had also started off the season with 2 wins, so this was not a given for Valencia that this would be a win. I know when you look at it on paper, you think like, yeah, of course Valencia are better than Getafe, but Getafe are a strong, strong side. They just didn't look like that against Valencia because I think Valencia are starting to hit their stride. They're starting to get going, and I'm excited to see how they do. Plus, right now, I didn't even mention it early on the top of the show. We're getting close. Actually, I think it just a couple minutes past for the transfer deadline in Europe. The summer window, anyways, is closing like as we're talking. So there could be a lot of stuff going on with moves and things that could be coming down the line, and maybe I just didn't hear about it yet. So if there is something that came up in the meantime, I'll let you know if it pops across my phone or anything like that. But for now, just know I'm not looking at it. I'm giving you the content here. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Saturday, Alaves 1, Atleti 1. Alaves and Atleti both scored within the first 15 minutes of the match, and, well, that was all after that. Good result for Alaves, but very, very bad result for Atleti, as things are as dark as they could be heading into the international break. Oviedo 1, Real Sociedad 0. To give Oviedo credit, they weathered an early storm of attacks from La Real that saw Kubo and Ayorzabal miss great chances. And the 3 points here will be massive. But the real question is just about how poor La Real are playing right now and what the hell is going on. If you are a big Real Sociedad fan, or you're from that area, maybe let us know, because I'm trying to figure it out. I'm looking at all these articles. I know they have new staff on board, but like, what is going on? It just doesn't seem like this should be happening. Okay, Girona 0, Sevilla 2. The only thing that can help a team in turmoil like Sevilla is a matchup against a team like Girona. Girona are the most obvious early season relegation candidate, and it's not even close. And you heard me say early season because obviously they're backed. They have, I think they're one of those multi-club ownership type of clubs. And so they're backed pretty well. They could find a way to get more players in and turn this around. But as of this moment, they seem like a very obvious relegation candidate. Real Madrid 2, Mallorca 1. Despite 3 goals being called back, Real Madrid hold on to get all 3 points against Mallorca. Someone please help Mbappe, because he continues to get offside. It's so much. I know it happened in PSG as well, but man, it just feels like it's happening so much for Madrid. It's just crazy. But one thing was cool was Arda Güler showed out in this one, and it's 3 wins for Los Blancos, 3 wins in a row to start the season. It's a tough start for Mallorca, though, having to face Barca, Celta, and Madrid in your first 3 matches of the La Liga season. The only thing I can say is it'll get easier. I promise you that. So maybe after the break, Mallorca schedule eases up a bit. We shall see. On Sunday, Celta 1, Villarreal 1. Villarreal almost took home all 3 points, but Celta get a stoppage time equalizer from Borja Iglesias. He just seems to always find a way. That's their guy, Borja. Nicolas Pepe gets another goal, and both of these teams look good going into the national break. And European football is about to start, and both these teams will be there. So, yeah, I'm excited to see that. And I know Villarreal has some pretty good matchups here in the Champions League. I didn't get a chance to look at the Conference League or the Europa League schedules yet, but I'll take a look at that too. I'm sure Celta has some bangers in there as well. Betis 1, Athletic Club 2. Betis fans came out in full force on Sunday, but Athletic Club were able to survive and take 3 points home. And the cool thing was, it wasn't even the Williams brothers or Sanset who were the ones there scoring the goals and getting them across the line. I'm telling you, this is a very good Athletic Club team. We've seen them the past few years where they've been right under the top 4, not really getting into the Champions League, but last season they broke into the Champions League, and we're thinking, okay, is this going to be a one-time thing? What is it looking like? They look like the real deal here. But on the other side, Betis, they lose a tough one, and they are close to bringing Anthony back. And actually, I wrote this before. I was reading a second ago. It looks like they did announce him, so he is back permanently. Whenever I said it was close, is because there were some like salary issues going on. They had already got everything else determined, but it was just a salary thing apparently. But United sent him over permanently. He's going to be in green and white for years to come. And man, I can't wait to see him and Lo Celso teaming up. Of course, Isco will get back eventually. He's just kind of injured with a broken leg, I think is what it was. And then we had Espanyol 1, Osasuna 0. Espanyol get a gritty win over Osasuna as they continue their impressive form early this La Liga season. Espanyol is not the flashiest team, but they're doing some good things out there. I was trying to look at the table real quick. Let's see. Espanyol, we have them. Where are we at? Espanyol. That's number 5. I wasn't even looking that high. So a win and 2 wins and a draw to start the season for Espanyol. That's a great start for a team that was battling relegation last season. And man, I don't know how it turns out. Maybe they fall down to earth. I don't know. But right now, Espanyol are fun to watch. and or it's fun to watch them do great things. Not necessarily the best team to watch, if you know what I mean. Like some teams, it's cool to see them do good, but you don't want to watch every match. But either way, Espanyol doing their thing out there. And the last matchup for La Liga is Rayo 1, Barca 1. This was it wasn't an upset, so it's not the upset of the weekend, but it's definitely a team that you didn't expect to get a result, getting a result, and that is the biggest surprise of the weekend, we'll put it that way. Rayo didn't play the defensive counterattacking game like you usually see from other lower table La Liga sides against Barca. Not that Rayo's lower table, but you get my point. No. They did not do that. Rayo, they wanted all the smoke, and they almost came away floating on cloud nine, if you know what I mean. This was cool to see, and they came very close to winning this one. There were 2 or 3 goals called off for Rayo, but they had momentum, and with a bit more luck, they could have won it. I'm not sure if Barca, if it was just kind of like they were tired, or you know how it is sometimes whenever there's international games right around the corner, some of the stars, they tend to hold back a little bit. You know what I'm talking about. They are like, should I go into this tackle full-hearted? Should I go for that ball as fast as I can? Well, if I get injured, then I won't be able to play for my international team. Maybe it was some of that, or maybe I'm just not giving Rayo the respect they deserve. Either way, what a result for Rayo. Barca will be fine. They'll be fine. Okay, the team, I mean, Rayo's obvious right now that the team to watch in La Liga. They're doing great things, and they did great things last year. We saw that how in 23-24 they were barely staying in La Liga. Last season, they get into, I believe they're in the Conference League, and now they're drawing with Barca at home. I mean, that's crazy upscaling for them, and I'm not sure if how this turns out. I'm not sure if they do good once all of these European schedules, these European games are scheduled for them, because you know how it happens if you start traveling. Maybe your squad's not as robust, and then you start to kind of slip in the table. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But it's just a good time. I know we get a break, and it's going to be a lonely weekend. Well, you know, you have your international teams, but you get my point. But once we come back, we're not too far away from, well, if you're an American or you're just a fan, the NFL is coming. We have international. We have a European competition starting. It's like it's all kicking off. Fall's here. That means in Texas, where we are, it'll be like not at 100 anymore, which is really cool. I'm just playing. It hadn't been that hot, but you know, you get my point. All right, let's do this. I think we are ready to go. Nothing else to say for La Liga. So now it's time to go to the last league, and that is going to England. That is going to the Premier League. Man, honestly, I don't know how people do this with their own show if they don't have like a co-host. Ooh, that's a lot of talking. You got to like someone's voice a lot to listen to a show where it's just one dude or gal, a dudette, just talking a lot. I don't like it. Okay. Vic, come back. Don't stay in Japan too long. And so we'll jump into the Prem, and we'll start off before we go into the meat and potatoes. We'll start off with the top 5 headlines for the Premier League Matchday 3. Number 1, the Seagulls fly past City. Brighton do it at the Amex and come back from a goal down to take all 3 points against City. And it was 3 well-deserved points heading into the break for Brighton. Number 2, are the cherries on top? Bournemouth put on a dominant display on the road against Spurs, where they could have had 3 to 4 goals easily. I thought they'd struggle with all this turnover in their squad this summer, but they've started off this season hot. Number 3, Grealish plus Everton equals gold. Jack Grealish comes to Everton this summer after being on the outs at City. And the question was, what does he have left in the tank? Well, 4 assists in 3 games, plus he's the creative engine for this Everton side, tells us that he's still got a lot to give. Number 4, Bruno saves Amorim's job. Bruno Fernandes' late penalty gives United a lead in all 3 points after they struggled to keep Burnley at bay. This was really close to being a breaking news sacking during the break, but Bruno keeps Amorim safe for now. Number 5, my guy Szoboszlai. In a game like that, in a moment like that, you need players to show their quality, and my man crush, Dominic Szoboszlai, did just that. Look at how far that free kick was, and you just got to see it and love it, and that's part of the game that we love right there. Way to go, Dominic Szoboszlai. And that was your top 5 headlines from a Premier League Match Day 3. Thanks for tuning in for that. And with all that said, we got to jump into the other matches that we didn't talk about. There's a lot of good matches that happen. Not everything can make the top 5. That's why it's a top 5, guys. Okay. On Friday, Fulham 0, Chelsea 2. Chelsea do it at the bridge with a 2-0 win. Fulham may feel hard done by after an early goal was chalked off by VAR, and then it was intervened for a foul. And then João Pedro heads home not too long after that, and VAR gives Chelsea a penalty not too long after that for a handball. So, man, I know that Fulham fans are out there. They're probably a little livid after that one. It's been a tough sledding for Fulham in the first 3 matches of the season, though, but Chelsea, on the other hand, are flying. On Saturday, Wolves 2, Everton 3. Everton win back-to-back matches, and this time in a back-and-forth match against Wolves at Molineux. Wolves showed life here, but Everton, through the blossoming Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, which is like the most English last name of all time, their link is starting to become stronger and stronger, and I'm excited to see that partnership blossom throughout the season. United 3, Burnley 2. United had to fight and claw to come all the way back to get 3 points here, but they do it, and the good vibes are finally back for United. Burnley were close to coming home with a point here, but credit to United for gutting it out and getting it done, because this is just something that they haven't been doing lately. Sunderland 2, Brentford 1. Sunderland get a stoppage time header to send the Stadium of Light into chaos. Brentford were the better team for most of the game, but Sunderland turned it on late and they get the job done, and that's all that matters. Newcastle 0, Leeds 0. There have been 3 0-0 draws in the Prem this season, and Newcastle have been a part of 2 of them. You think they need to find someone who can score goals? Yeah, it's pretty obvious here. On Sunday, Brighton 2, City 1. Brighton stunned City at the Amex, and it seems like they have City's number at the moment. City had their chances to bury Brighton, but ultimately it was Brighton who found a way through to take all 3 points. And then we have Forest versus West Ham. Forest 0, West Ham 3. West Ham saved Graham Potter's job as they get 3 goals after the 84th minute to soar past Forest. Forest will feel frustrated from this one because it was pretty even for most of the match, but Lady Luck was just with West Ham, and they get their first win of the season and probably save Graham. Well, yeah, I said it a second ago, but save Graham Potter's job. Liverpool 1, Arsenal 0. It looked like a battle between the 2 teams that are going to be fighting for the Premier League title. That's exactly what it felt like. And the difference was Liverpool's depth and class with Dominic's ridiculous free kick. That was a special moment we just witnessed. Don't take it for granted, guys. Villa 0, Palace 3. Palace win big at Villa Park and make a statement. This felt like a swinging doors moment for Palace, and they come out on top. Villa do not look like a scary side, or they do not look like the scary side that they were last season, the season that was tearing up the Champions League. And I don't know if this is the real them or this is just new season jitters or what, but they're not the same team we saw last season. And looking at my notes here, yes. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Yeah, we got through 10 of them. For some reason, I couldn't remember if I said the Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0. But that's probably because I just don't want to talk about that one too much. It was just a really bad showing. But yeah, that's, I mean, I will highlight it because going into the first 2 or going into this third match after the first 2 matches, Spurs just looked excellent. And in Bournemouth, I mean, there's just, They looked good, but we didn't know. Maybe they lost to Liverpool, even though they played them well. But were they really going to be a team that's going to test this Spurs side, who they came very close to beating PSG. They dominated City on the road. How is this going to be now that they're at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? And it just didn't matter. Bournemouth outclassed Spurs. They outplayed them. It wasn't fun. And there was never a time where you felt like Spurs were going to get back because their attack was just stale. They didn't have any answers, no creative outlet. The good thing was we as in a Spurs fan here, signed Xavi Simons. He was there on site. And so maybe he saw that and was like, yeah, I have a place in the team. Or maybe he saw that and was like, man, what the heck is going on here? But either way, Thomas Frank will be in the lab. He's going to need to figure that out. It wasn't a fun time. The other big, I guess the big, we leave this with more questions, is the Newcastle 0, Leeds 0, that draw, because, Newcastle tried to sign everybody this season and they thought they were keeping Isak. And I saw that they signed, that Liverpool got him overnight. And so they no longer will have Isak there. So it's not even a glimmer of hope that he's going to be at any point this season on their sideline. So they just seem like they can't score goals at the moment. And I'm just wondering where they're going to come from. I know they're bringing in some players, and they got Nick Voltemata, and don't get me wrong, Voltemata, he's awesome in the Bundesliga for Stuttgart. We liked him a lot. He was my player to watch for Stuttgart. And actually, because we're kind of pseudo Stuttgart fans, it sucks to see him go. But he joined Stuttgart for free last season from Werder Bremen. So they didn't pay a dime for him, and then he leaves for 90 million. Like, that is insane. Not to say that he isn't worth it. Maybe he will be, but I mean, he's only shown it for one season, and it wasn't even that. He was injured a lot last season, so it's like half a season. The thing is, he has a lot of potential, and the reason I'm talking a lot about him is because now that he's with Newcastle, he could be the guy. He's basically the same size as these. Like, they're just tall, lengthy dudes who are, can stop on a dime, and they, as some people say, they can dance around like ballerinas with the ball at their feet. So Voltemata will be a lot of fun to watch, but I just don't know if he's enough to get them over the line. And they have Champions League starting up very soon, so very worried about Newcastle. Okay, I think that is it. Look at that, 35 minutes, and we're already done. It's because that boy Hype Man Vic just loves to talk, loves to hear his voice. If he watches this, he's not going to like that. Okay, I think that's it. Let's call it here. Thank you guys for tuning in. The No Business Soccer Podcast. This was your I'm sorry that our boy Hype Man wasn't here to grace you with his presence, but he'll be back in due time. We don't have a show this Thursday or Monday because it's international break, but we'll be back in 2 Thursdays. What is that? Well, I don't know the date, but let me look at the calendar real quick. That looks like it's the 11th. So in the meantime, enjoy your weekends, enjoy the fun, and we will talk to you later. Peace.